The year was 2014. It was a dark, cold February winter's night in Ludlow, Massachusetts. Left for dead, a small and badly beaten puppy crawls slowly through the snow, leaving a trail of crimson behind him, scared and alone. A dying puppy, a police detective, and a whole lot of love. Find out how they changed each other's life next on The World According to Pleiades. Greetings and welcome to The World According to Pleiades on KFUG Radio in Crescent City, California, 101.1 FM. The 1-hour weekly radio program that covers everything from alternative medicine, hypnosis, meditation, success, human interaction, alien abduction, and the question of, what is reality anyway, to name but a few. And tonight on The World According to Pleiades, I have a very interesting guest. And her name is Alison Metcalfe. And she has a story that any animal lover is sure to be interested in. And now, well, I'm going to start off in a certain place, Alison. First, I want to say welcome to The World According to Pleiades. You're welcome. Thanks for being able to meet me in the ethosphere or something today, as we're doing all this by phone.
Thank you for having us.
You're very welcome. And of course, when you say us, you mean you and Jameson. So I want to say welcome to Jameson also. Thank you, Jameson.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mr. P.
Well, you're quite welcome. Now, this relates... This is something that happened actually while you were on the job, the adventure that we're about to talk about. And what is your job?
I'm a police officer.
Okay. And in what state is that?
In Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts, okay. And so did it start out just like any other day, or did you have any strange feelings when you woke up that day, or how did that all begin?
No, I'm actually a detective, and I came to work and was doing my own thing, my own investigation, and dispatch received a call about something that they thought may have happened to a quote-unquote friend's dog, and then responding officers went to do an initial investigation, and I just happened to walk out of my office at the right time and found out what was going on, and then we all went over there and kind of finished the investigation and arrested the bad guy, so to speak.
Okay, so what was going on? What did you find when you actually got there?
The responding officer, when he initially went there, found that there was blood in the snow, like on the walkway of the house. There was blood down the side of the pickup truck. There was blood in the snow in the back of the pickup truck, and the suspect, kind of admitted, I killed the dog.
Wow.
And then he came back to the station, because this isn't something that we deal with normally.
Yeah.
And so we had to do a little research, or he had to do a little research on deciding, how we were going to proceed with this. So when we realized it was a felony and he could be arrested for what he did, then we went back to place him under arrest and see if he would give us a statement. And when we went back there, he was cooperative with us, and he did tell us where he, I guess for lack of a better word, dumped the dog, which was across town. And so we went there to look for him. And when we got there, we could see a little bit of blood in the snow, but we couldn't find the dog. So what the dog had done was kind of went under this branch that was there to try to hide, I guess. And we ended up finding him, and somebody yelled, "There he is!" And the dog picked his head up, and we couldn't believe it that he was alive. So I ran to the back of the cruiser, and randomly enough, I had a sweatshirt in the car, so we ran down the snowbank and wrapped him in the sweatshirt, and then we brought him over to the animal hospital.
Okay, so Jameson was basically beaten to within an inch of his life, kind of thing?
Yeah, yep, beaten with, like 3-foot pruning loppers that you use outside for gardening. He was beaten with those, and I believe he was hit 4 or 5 times with them, which ended up fracturing his skull.
Wow,
and
yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, that's okay. It's all part of the flow. I was just going to ask, what breed or what kind of dog is Jameson? Is he a big dog? Is he a little dog? I mean,
the best we can figure is that he's a Pomeranian and probably a Skipper Key mix.
Okay. So he's just a little fella.
Yeah, he is, and he's littler than when we first initially brought him in. He looks like a little bear cub, honestly. When we initially brought him in, they thought that he was a Pomeranian and full grown because of the size of him. But if you look online and research Skipper Keys, they're a little bit bigger than a Pomeranian. So I found out months and months later that he was only between 4 and 5 months old when this happened to him, not a year and a half like initially thought.
So you were actually, at some point, maybe even a few times, interacting with the fellow that did the beating, actually thought he had murdered this little dog. That sounds really hard. I mean, on an emotional level, I think a lot of people would just basically, excuse me for being graphic, but basically want to get those that implement and start, slugging the guy with it.
Yeah.
That must have been, I mean, I'm just guessing, kind of hard for you to be standing next to him and not basically throw him to the ground and say, "What is wrong with you?" Excuse me for being emotional.
It's difficult. This job is difficult sometimes, and that's the, children and animal lovers. I think it really strikes a chord because they're vulnerable, they're defenseless, and they're at our mercy as bigger people. And it's, I guess it is sad. It was very sad that night. And I give the guys credit that were with me that night that nobody put a scratch on him because we knew that this was something that could be prosecuted and that would be handled in court because it was so disturbing.
Right. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty big. That you were all able to actually, and I know it's part of your job, part of your training, but once again, on an emotional, human level, all those synapses must start firing and those emotions start coming up to basically want to handle it right there on the spot. So good job to you and your colleagues on just doing what needed to be done. And moving your way through it from one end to the other so the actual legal system would be able to handle it, and his lawyer, because he must have had one, wouldn't be able to find any loopholes. So how did that turn out? I mean, don't tell me they let him off. I mean, I don't know.
No, it made the news that night, and people started immediately donating money to save him. We didn't find out that he actually had a fractured skull until about 1:30 in the morning, and nobody wanted to take responsibility for the dog. And I understand, the animal hospital, they need to get paid because they're a business also, even though they are in the business of helping animals. And so people started donating money to his care. And I had initially, when nobody would financially take responsibility for the dog, I put my debit card down and I said, "Okay, I'll take responsibility for him. Does that mean he's my dog now?"
Wow.
And they said, "Yes, it'll have to go through the proper channels to have him signed over to you." But what ended up happening a couple days later was they called me early Saturday morning and said he needs to go to Weymouth, which is probably a couple hours away from me, to a veterinary hospital which has a neurologist on staff. And he needed brain surgery because the fractured skull, part of it was, his skull was pushing down into his brain, causing a brain bleed. So he had a craniotomy out in Weymouth, and he came home with me, I think, for 4 days after that.
Holy cow. A craniotomy. I mean, just the word alone sounds like thousands of dollars, actually. So
there was hundreds and hundreds of people across the country that donated to help save this little dog. And they raised, I want to say, about $14,000
wow.
For all his medical expenses.
Mm-hmm.
And, through a very large group effort,
mm-hmm.
we were able to save him. And he's a great dog, and he's worth every penny.
I believe you. And I've seen pictures on Facebook, and he is definitely a cute little guy. I mean, there's just no doubt about that. So your movement, your drive to raise funds to save Jameson, first that happened basically by word of mouth, and then you launched it into Facebook like that?
No, what actually happened was I never had Facebook until Jameson came along.
Okay.
One of my coworkers, the K-9 officer, he was there that night. He's actually the one that spotted him under
mm-hmm. that
branch. And he contacted his K-9 friends because, that they all know each other. They all train together. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, can anybody help us out? Alison just put her credit card up for this. Can we all pitch in?
Mm-hmm.
So what one of them did was a K-9 officer in Southwood, Mass. He put it on their Facebook page. And, some people heard about it through them, and then the other people heard about it on the news. And that's how the donations started pouring in that night, probably about 11:03, right after the story came on the news.
Wow.
And so, if it weren't for all of those people and word of mouth, and the news media, then, I don't know what would have happened to the dog, because what was initially feasible for me at a couple $1,000s to save the dog,
yeah.
and what his ultimate vet bill would have been, I wouldn't have been able to do that myself. I didn't, and then the Facebook page started because there was no way for me to mass thank all these people across the country for helping to save him.
Mm-hmm.
And someone had suggested to me, maybe you should make a Facebook page for him just so everybody knows how he's doing, because I got letters and cards and, people's phone calls, and people just wanted to know that he was going to be okay, because there was a lot of people that were actually traumatized by this story
mm-hmm.
because they inadvertently saw it on the news that night or heard about it or read about it in the paper. And it really, really bothered so many people that I felt obligated almost to let everybody know that he was going to be okay and that, I was going to take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how his Facebook page initially started.
Great. And it's good to know that there's still enough good people in the world to actually feel something on a level of trauma when it comes to a vulnerable little guy like Jameson being attacked. Yeah, for real. So there's still hope. There's still hope.
Well, it's actually funny that you say that, because what I kept saying throughout this whole ordeal in the beginning was that I've been doing this job for so long that, you do become a little bit jaded, and you see the worst in society, and you see the worst in people and how cruel they can be to either other people, kids, animals. And it was extremely heartwarming for me that I saw that many generous, kind-hearted people.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, that were willing to come together to, some people may, some people might say, well, he's just one little dog, all that money for one little dog. But it was the event that happened that brought a whole community of people together to say this is not acceptable in our community. And I think that it really made me open my eyes that there really are that many good people out there that I just don't see every day.
Fantastic. That's an absolutely beautiful point. Thank you for sharing that. So that comes into another question that I was going to ask a little later on, but since we're already there, how has this experience changed your life?
Well, my life I see now was pretty boring before Jameson. I have my kids, and I had my other 2 dogs, and at the time I had 2 cats also. But this has brought me a whole bunch of new friends with a common interest. It has made me feel like I've done something that I've always wanted to do, which is make a difference. And eventually, so many people had contacted me, through letters, cards, phone calls, and Facebook eventually. And everybody wanted to meet Jameson, and they wanted to see for themselves that he really was that cute, and he, really was a good dog, and that he was happy and he was better.
Mm-hmm.
And so a friend of mine, Kim, and I said, hey, why don't we do like a meet and greet kind of thing? And then this other girl, Shandi, who, we've become very good friends over the past year and a half, decided to have Jameson's Jubilee. And we wanted to make it a pet-friendly event that was outside where instead of selling event tickets, we could accept donations as an entry fee, I guess, for lack of a better word. But, where they donated gently used blankets, towels, animal food, gift cards, toys that we could then turn around and donate to local organizations or shelters.
Mm.
And we were overwhelmed by the response. We thought maybe we could get, because we planned this in 5 weeks, we thought maybe we could get 50 to 75 people there. And there was over 300 people there with their families,
Wow.
their dogs. Oh yeah, it turned into a huge thing.
That's huge.
A DJ had come and asked us if he could DJ the event. He brought concert tickets for a raffle prize, and other people were donating stuff. It was
nice.
absolutely amazing. And then we were hoping that we would gather enough stuff to donate to 3 different places, and we ended up donating to 12. And that made us feel so good that, so many people helped us when we needed it to save the dog, that we could then turn around and help all these other animals.
Mm-hmm.
And then we set up a fund called Jameson and Friends so that we could donate to other animals that, locally abused animals that came across our way.
Mm-hmm.
We could make a donation to their medical care also.
Wow. That's really special. That's really awesome. And also you've been an animal lover like forever. You were even thinking about becoming a veterinarian at one time, right?
I was when I was little, yeah. When I was
Right.
younger, that's what I wanted to do.
So this is interesting because you embraced police work, which seems, pretty far from veterinary work. Actually, the opportunity arose to help animals on a pretty big level. That's like that's like the universe, or however you want to term it. Like
Coming full circle.
yeah. I mean, it's like that essence was in you to begin with, and even though you moved in a different direction, this like gift was given to you so you could share your love of animals on a deeper level. That's just really awesome. Let's see. I have some questions here. While I'm looking at my questions, is there anything you'd like to just jump in with?
No, I think, to answer your original question, besides my life was boring, I don't know. I guess I feel everybody says that, Jameson was blessed to have me working that night, and I feel like I was blessed to be working that night because he's changed my life in a way that is so much more than what it was. And by that, selfishly, I feel like I can now turn around and volunteer and donate and do everything that I've always wanted to do and just didn't have the either opportunity, means, know how to do. And it kind of just fell into my lap, all this stuff that we've done. And, I don't think of myself as anything special. I do what I think is the right thing to do as far as helping others. And that is how my life has changed, and it has made it so much more full, so much more, I'm going to say more better, so much better, that I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful for all the support and the generosity and the kindness of, just strangers, really, and helping me do the right thing to help other animals.
Absolutely. Thank you. And here's an interesting question. We spoke a few minutes before we started recording today, and you had mentioned that before this happened, when it came to like being in the spotlight or the camera on or something, you would be like one of the first people to shy away from that. But this experience has opened you up because you've needed to embrace it. Would you like to talk a little about that?
I didn't have a choice. It was kind of, some of us gravitate towards the spotlight and others don't. And I was not one of those people that went toward the spotlight. And for a very long time, if the camera showed up at an accident scene, I would be, the one on the other side of the cruiser that you couldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I think a lot of us are like that because we don't usually need recognition or anything like that. But I was put in this position, and it was very stressful. The first 3 weeks of having Jameson were extremely stressful. There was news cameras around, there was reporters around, and people were asking me questions, and I feel like I was being torn in 100 different directions.
Mm.
And then it kind of calmed down, and very slowly, I think it was much easier for me because I had a purpose, and I had something that I wanted to say
Mm-hmm.
about helping other animals, that it became a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized that people were kind and people were very supportive, that it was okay for me to say what I had to say and that people were going to be supportive of that. There was embarrassment at first because I didn't know how I came across or how I looked because I just wasn't used to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, with time it has become much easier. And I realized that if I don't, tell people our message, then nobody else is going to.
Beautiful.
So I don't know. It became easier. It was very stressful at first, but it did become easier for me.
What's been the most challenging interacting with the public in relation to this event, like a talk before groups or the camera? Is there anything that stands out that was like the most nerve-wracking for you before the interview or the talk or anything, or is it all about the same?
No, I think honestly that the whole thing was nerve-wracking for me.
Okay.
I had to remember not to make funny faces while I was standing up there thinking the camera wasn't on me because it was. And, there was a lot of it that was embarrassing. That, one odd camera angle made me look like I looked like a balloon. It was, and then I'd go, oh, my God, there was a picture that is going to haunt me, I think, forever that was in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
And why they never even published this paper, I was, starting to laugh or something,
Mm-hmm.
and this horrible picture was snapped of me, and they put it on the front page of the paper,
Yeah.
and, everybody that knew me was like, what is that? It doesn't even look like you.
Yeah, why
and
did they
every
do
time
that?
I don't know, it was awful. And I said, I hope that guy never drives through Ludlow as a joke. Like, are you kidding me? But, but this picture repeatedly will be popped back up because, when they bring up the story, somehow this picture makes its way back out into the public, and I'm like, I cringe every single time.
Yeah,
So
oh my God.
It's things like that are nerve-wracking, like I have to remember
Mm-hmm.
to, just stand still, basically, and just talk and not do weird things.
That's a good point. The camera is always on.
Yep.
Oh man.
Hey, my sergeant's right here, the one who illustrated the book. Do you want to ask him a couple questions?
What's his first name?
Louis Tulik.
Louis?
We call him Louis, though.
Okay, yeah.
All right, here. I'm going to have to give him my phone. Hold on. Hello there.
Hello there. This is Pleiades on the World According to Pleiades in Crescent City, California. And as you know, we're interviewing Alison right now in relation to Jameson. And I understand that you are a part of that entire experience. Also, you're a part of writing the book. Whose idea was it to write a book?
Actually, I did the illustrations. I did all the drawings. But I have to give Alison the credit.
Mm-hmm.
And in some respects, the book kind of wrote itself. The story is pretty amazing. And it really didn't take a lot of effort to make this happen. And, to me, the dog is just, if you meet the dog, if she ever sends you some video, you're going to be captivated. The dog is just really an awesome animal.
I saw some pictures on Facebook, and we're talking absolutely the cutest ever. Would you, if you have a minute, could you share a little with me about your perspective of what happened that night?
It was a really cold winter night out here. The snow had piled up, and I got a call at home about a dog that was left for dead in the woods, and we got a tip on someone who actually perpetrated the crime. So Alison and I both work in the detective bureau, so obviously any major crime or any felony, we investigate.
Mm-hmm.
And we were called in that night, and everybody that was called came in, because anytime it's a child or it's an animal, there's no way you can say no. So I just recall how desperate we were to solve the case. And, when you see an animal like that laying there helpless, bleeding in the woods, there's no one really to speak for that animal but us. So it didn't take a lot. The inspiration came from the situation the dog was in. But I just remember being really cold out there, and I couldn't believe this animal could survive the beating that it took in such harsh conditions. And I'll never forget it. It's probably one of the most emotional cases we've ever worked on, and I've been on the job for 23 years.
Wow, that's saying a lot for sure. So when you first saw Jameson, did you just assume that Jameson was already dead, and then he moved or something, or made a sound, or what?
I was actually dispatched to the house of the person that committed the crime.
Okay.
Detective Alison went to the scene, and she was sending me photos on her phone. And I had to ask her, is he going to make it? And at that time, we didn't really know, but she did say the dog was still alive. But at that point, we thought there was no way this dog is going to survive with the loss of blood and the damage to the cranium.
Wow. Louis, is there anything that you would like to just share with people in relation to this event, or anything that comes to mind, anything you'd like people to know?
I think the one thing that police officers have, and lately we've gotten a bad rap nationally for a lot of sometimes good reason and sometimes unjustified, but there are a lot of police officers, just like cross sections of society, that are really good people and compassionate people. And I think it speaks to the importance of having compassion and empathy on this job. And when you feel the pain of others and you feel the pain of other living creatures, it kind of gives you a different perspective, and it kind of focuses you on getting the job done. And that's the one thing that I've learned on this job is, you never lose the compassion for living things. And,
wow.
This book is a result of that compassion. I mean, Alison loves kids. She deals with child abuse cases and animal abuse cases quite a bit.
Whoa.
And that's what this book was born out of. Is, the feeling that this animal went through, and that maybe we can just make it click somewhere in the mind of someone else who's out there that may think of hurting an animal or think it's okay. That these animals, they don't have anybody to speak for them but us. So maybe they'll think twice, and maybe some kid will read that book and share it with someone else. And that's what we hope to do. We can only hope that we can save one life at a time, and make a difference. But
absolutely,
hopefully that's a good thing, and the end result of this is a positive thing.
Louis, you've said a lot in a short space of time, and you said it all very well. And I just want to personally thank you for being one of the good guys. Thank you, Louis.
And the feeling is mutual. I thank you very much. I'm going to give you back to Alison, okay?
Okay, stay safe out there.
Have a great day. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alison.
Hi.
Alison, thank you. Louis is awesome.
Yeah. And he's very well spoken. I like it when he participates.
That was wonderful. Now I'm going to ask you a question. I don't think I asked it specifically yet, and that is, well, when you first met Jameson, did you think he had already passed on, and then he moved or made a sound, and you realized he hadn't, or how did that work?
I think when he was at the bottom of the snowbank, he was down a little ways, and we were having trouble seeing him because it was so dark out, and he's completely black. Well, he's got a little white on his stomach, but that we were having trouble finding him. And when somebody did spot him and yelled, there he is, he must have heard us, and he picked up his head a little bit.
Okay.
He didn't make any noise at that point, but somebody did see him, and he moved, and that's how we knew that he was alive and that he wasn't dead.
Okay, I hear you. And I'm wondering, do you want to mention specifically anyone that donated to help save him, or not really?
No, just, it was petchance.org, which is a website that's set up specifically to help people with their animal medical costs. And where people can make donations to certain stories or certain animals. And when it was put on there, it was, it was one of their feature stories, and that's where the majority of the money was raised. So they raised over $10,000 on their site for us.
Okay, thank you. And what has happened with Jameson? How is he doing these days?
He's he for the most part he's okay. His left legs don't always work right. They move a little slower. Sometimes they're not as supportive as his right side. Dogs like shake when they get wet, or they just shake, and his legs will slip out from under him, or he doesn't necessarily topple over, but you can tell he's unstable, and then he rights himself up, and he can't really see out of his left eye. We're not sure if it's completely, or if it's he just has very, very low vision in his left eye. But people that don't live with him wouldn't necessarily recognize it. I just see it because I live with him. And he, every once in a while, if he's not paying attention, he'll bump into like the door jamb if it's kind of on his left side, and he can't really judge how far away it is. Things like that. He runs kind of sideways, and I'm not sure why, but he goes down the stairs. He'll start at the right side, always the right side, and he won't start going down the stairs until I do. And then he ends up on the left side. So, can I say that that's completely his injuries? I don't know why a dog would do that constantly, but, I tend to think that, he does have some residual issues from what happened to him. But for the most part, he's a happy dog. He's great. He loves to play. He's a definite cuddler. And I couldn't be happier that I was lucky enough to have him.
And so you mentioned, I think you mentioned that you have other animals. How many other animals do you have? How do they get along together?
I have 2 other dogs currently. I did have 2 other cats when Jameson first came into the house. They've since passed away. They were both 18 years old. They were actually both brought home from the station, too. My Dalmatian can be a little bit on the rough side because she was a puppy too. At the same time, they're about maybe 4 months apart. And I was concerned because he did have severe injuries and he needed to recuperate. And it was very surprising to me how well everybody adjusted to each other right off the bat. And they knew that there was something wrong with him because his head was shaved and he had staples all across his skull. And I think that they must have sensed that there was something not right about him, that he was injured, and they were very gentle with him. And they would lick his staples, and they were very, very gentle when they were playing with him. And not that he really played too much in the beginning, but it was nice to see that animals do understand and that they do care for each other, even if they don't really, they didn't have a bond yet, but my other 2 were very, very good with him when he first came home.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Thank you. Let's see. So you've already answered a question that I had. You mentioned his personality is happy. He likes to cuddle and things like that, it just seems pretty amazing. Because animals and people, as we know, can definitely be heavily traumatized, through abuse, whether it's emotional or physical. And yet through all that, in spite of all that, Jameson is still loving. Is he just that way with everyone, or is it mostly you and your family and your friends because he feels safe with you? Or
I think it is mostly, he is like that mostly with the people that are closest to me and that he's used to, coming over, people that he's seen before. But he definitely does have some stranger danger issues. When I bring him somewhere, I feel like, I have to watch him closely because I'm not sure how he's going to react to certain people. Men in particular, he seems to be set off more by men. And especially if somebody's wearing a hat. For some reason, he does not like hats if they're carrying an umbrella or a walking stick. It's definitely an issue for him, and he really doesn't. He gets very anxious and, I don't want to say aggressive, but you can tell when he's barking, he's just not happy, and he'll back away. For some reason, he has a thing with darkness. I walked up the stairs one night with him, and I hadn't turned the light on, and it was pitch black upstairs.
Yeah.
And by the time I got to the top of the stairs, he was shaking like a leaf.
Wow.
And it was the first time it had happened. And I just, okay, so next time I just turn the light on, because I never want him to be scared. And I know that, certain dogs have issues even when they weren't abused, and fireworks are just traumatic for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only let him be around him that first time and he was shaking and scared and hiding, and so I've made sure to never have him around when I know there's going to be fireworks anywhere, or never bring him anywhere where there's going to be fireworks. And I think that's I don't want to say normal, but I mean that's an issue for a lot of dogs. So I don't think that's anything that has to do with what happened to him.
Mm-hmm. But the walking stick and the cane, I mean, in my mind, it's like it appears to be clearly related. And once again, I mean, animal or human, living through such a traumatizing event, I believe, would have the same type of reactions, really. So I'm going to ask you a question I asked you earlier. I don't think we actually moved into really answering it. I think we got a little into a different area, and that's okay because it's all part of the flow. What happened to the guy?
He went to jail. He ended up being sentenced in September of last year, and I don't remember the exact date. I want to say it was the 2nd or 12th, or give or take a few days. And he took an unagreed plea to the judge sentenced him to 1 year in jail, and I believe it was 2 years probation after that.
And I need to ask, do you feel like drugs were involved? I mean, for somebody to do something like that was...
No, I think alcohol was involved.
Alcohol, okay. I view alcohol as a drug too, but yeah, I understand the differentiation too. Okay. How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable in commenting on the sentence he got?
I wish he had gotten a little bit longer. I think people would have, the general public would have felt a little better had he gotten something longer.
Yeah.
And I only say that because it was such a callous, barbaric thing to do.
Yeah.
And really for no reason. There was really not a good reason behind it at all. And I don't know. I think the public as a whole, and I'm saying this based on things that repeatedly have been said to me, is that they wish that he got longer and that he deserved to get longer. Me doing the job that I do, I realized that you really kind of nowadays have to work hard to get to jail. And I think that I am glad that he had to serve jail time. But I realized that a year isn't the short time that everybody really thinks it is. It's not easy to, just go to jail. So, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm trying to be diplomatic, I guess.
I understand. And because of your job, there's probably things that it's not necessarily the best
I have to be careful
for
what
you
I
to
say.
share. Yeah, absolutely. And, so, you mentioned something a second ago, and if you don't want to go there, that's fine. You said these days it's like a person has to work pretty hard to even get to jail. What did you mean?
Yeah.
What's going on? Things are changing. I mean, what?
I think that part, and this is just my opinion. I think that a lot of people that commit crimes nowadays, it has a lot to do with drug abuse and drug addiction, and that people are given second, third, and fourth chances to clean up their act, to stop committing crimes, to get themselves clean. And just be productive. And, so people don't, unless you do something heinous and it's a first offense, there's all these guidelines. There's sentencing guidelines, and you can't just throw people in jail and throw away the key. And, when they commit larcenies and break into cars and break into houses, there's a reason, not a good reason in my mind, but there's a reason why they're doing it, and there needs to be some sort of help for them associated with that. And, you know, this is a person who normally traditionally has conservative views saying that just locking people up, yes, they're going to get clean while they're in jail, but there needs to be other things associated with that, because if they don't have any support or resources when they get out of jail, well, then they just go right back to what they were doing.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, you said, yeah, they're going to get clean while they're in jail, and that's kind of like a big maybe thing, because from what I've heard, there's actually a lot of drugs on the inside, like in prisons. I don't know what the difference is between jail and prison, really, but...
Jail is usually county, and it's usually you're serving less than 2.5 years. That's the way it is in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And prison is anything over, if you get a sentence that's over 2.5 years, you go to a state prison.
Okay. So you're already, of course, aware that there's a lot of drugs in prison. What's it like, or do you know, like in the county jail? I mean, is it as much of a problem there, or is it more so in the prisons, or do you feel like you can even comment on that?
I actually don't even know. I mean, it's not usually, you know what, it doesn't make the news, so I don't really know about it. Because I know that some states and some counties, your jails and your police departments they work hand in hand, and they're all, you know, sheriffs or whatever their titles are. But here, it's separate. The sheriff's department and the jails are separate from the police department.
Okay.
So we don't, you know, they're their own separate entity. So the issues and the problems that they have in the jail, they deal with that. We don't have any, you know, we don't have any reason to be dealing with that stuff. So
okay.
I really don't, I don't know. I actually don't know.
That's fair. I don't know either. Thank you, Alison. So a book has been written. You wrote the book, and Lewis did the illustrations. How did that all come up? I mean, it didn't pop into your head the next day, hey, I need to write a book. What happened?
God, no. I think that, you know, people had said, oh, you should make a kid's book out of it, and, you know, kind of joking and passing and stuff. And I had, I guess there's a part of me that if my life isn't chaotic, then I'm just not happy. I don't know. The plan was formulated, and I started to do it, and then I said, I can't, this is overwhelming, it's too much. And it was kind of like around his birthday, which was either the end of, I don't know when his actual birthday is, but around the end of October, the beginning of November, and, you know, Christmas was coming and everything. I just kind of shelved the idea. And then, probably February or the beginning of March, I said, you know what, let me just take a stab at it and see if I can even make it funny. And I don't know, I wrote his story. You know, there's a lot of crumpled paper on the ground, but I wrote it, and I didn't know who at the point was going to do the illustrations for me, and I was just talking to the guys that I work with in the office, and I knew that Louis had his degree in art. And he said, well, you know, if you're looking, I can try. You know, I can just draw some sample stuff and see if you like it. And knowing Louis, I've known Louis since I was a little kid. We kind of grew up together. I was like, oh, you know, that would be great. I was very excited when he said that. And because he'll just randomly draw things on the whiteboard in the station. And Louis is probably one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. So the fact that he was going to do it, I knew he would do a great job, just knowing his personality. And he did. He showed me some samples of stuff, and I loved it. And so we kind of made it, you know, a little more cartoony, so it could be, you know, it would be better for kids. And it was just, I don't know, the plan just kind of took off and gained momentum, and now we have a book.
That's fantastic. How long did it take to create?
It took probably a few months. You know, we wanted it ready for this year's Jubilee, for this year's fundraiser, but that didn't happen. We didn't realize how long it would take to print it and get it ready and format it, and, you know, because this is all new to us. So we kind of, you know, just did it off the cuff and learned as we went along, and, you know, I'm very happy with the way that it came out, and I think that, you know, I guess the reason why, if I had to pinpoint one answer, would be, you know, Jameson's journey, when the little kids see it on Facebook, when their parents show them and they watch the videos with them, it's very, very cute and heartwarming for me to see that we're doing something that makes so many people happy. And when I would get videos and pictures of kids watching the videos, if I would put them in the video or say their name in the video or put a picture of them in the video, they would just get so excited.
Oh, yeah.
And that made me so happy that, you know, I was doing something that made these little kids just get so excited they were bouncing up and down in their seat. Yeah. And I thought, you know, if I can do that and send a message at the same time that, you know, showing little kids that animal abuse is wrong. And, you know, I guess that was our goal, is to have children be entertained, but to also send that message that, you know, animals have feelings too, and, you know, hurting them is wrong.
Absolutely. Good job on that. So that answers the question as to why you wrote the book. How can people find this book? Is it available everywhere, or? No,
there was, I had initially put it up on Amazon, and there was a little bit of a snafu, which I'm still trying to work out with them. That would be my goal, because 30% of the profit is donated to other animal organizations in the efforts of helping them with their daily journeys. So you can email us at jamesonandfriends@yahoo.com. That's one way to do it, and you can just place your order with me. You'll always get a response because it's my email address. Or just go on our Jameson's Journey Facebook page, and you can message us through that.
Okay, thank you. And so on Facebook, if somebody types in Jameson's Journey, they're going to find Jameson. Well, they will see the cutest little dog ever with his little Superman cape on. There it is. And I've actually visited the page myself, so I can say she's not just saying that.
He really is, isn't he? He's adorable.
He is. I mean, as soon as I saw his picture, it was like love at first sight, no doubt. I'm going to ask you to spell Jameson's Journey, because I want to make sure if people type it in, they get the spelling right.
Okay. JAMESON 'S space Journey, JOURNEY.
Thank you. And let's see. Now, I have a note here that says, how did you decide what voices they would have? What's that about?
It kind of started as, just a little bit of a joke to make him talk and tell people himself that he was okay. And which kind of morphed into, that you could only do it for 15 seconds on this app that I found. And then, I'm not sure it's a good thing, but I found this other app where you can join videos together. So all my 15 seconds are joined together into longer videos. And, some people, they find it, silly and don't like it. But there's other people that absolutely love it. And they get on there and, they tell me that they watch them with their morning coffee, or, that I make them laugh. And I know some of them are funny, and then, ones the videos that I don't think are very funny, people tell me that was the best video ever. And it's just the antics of the dogs, because Delilah's a little bit of a mischief maker, we'll call her.
And this is all on your Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
We used to do videos every day, and then it kind of, my work schedule changed, and I don't get to do it every day. But I try to do it as often as I can. But most of the time, they'll get a picture of one of the animals, with a message every day.
Yeah, I accessed Jameson's Facebook page through my phone, and somehow I didn't see these videos, but I guess I'm going to go back there today because I want to see the videos. Okay. Let's see. Well, how do the doggies deal with all their fame?
Well, Delilah doesn't get out much. She's quite a diva, and she likes to give beauty tips on Wednesdays.
Oh, sweet.
And she she wanted a modeling career, but that didn't work out because she realized she would have had to move away from home for that. So she decided to stay with us. Tilly is like the perfect child. She's my golden retriever, and she's the one that behaves. She's the one that listens. And all she wants to do in life is fetch a ball. And Jameson, he likes going places with me. He likes, when people pet his little head. Mm-hmm. And it's not one big adventure, this one. And Delilah jumps on counters and gets in my kitchen cabinet, and she's not the most well-behaved dog. And she's very lucky that she is so beautiful, and she's so cute, and she loves to cuddle with me and everything else. She's very sweet and lovable, but oh my goodness, is she a troublemaker. So
creative and adventurous.
Yes.
It's fantastic.
The videos are somewhat of a little, sibling rivalry between Jameson and Delilah, and sometimes they're arguing back and forth about things, and, I don't know. It's meant to entertain, and it's not for everybody, and I understand that, and what you had originally asked me, how to pick their voices and stuff, it's, I only had 4 choices on there. So that was kind of how, Delilah being the diva got the high squeaky voice, and Jameson got the boy voice, and Tilly got the, mature voice.
Okay, so now when I watch the videos, I'll already have a little behind-the-scenes knowledge. Thank you. And,
yeah, you'll have a little background.
And you mentioned that you have children. So how have your children reacted to all this media? I know they love Jameson.
They do. They love all the dogs. And, well, let me start by saying I have a 14-year-old, so that should say enough. But I'm not even allowed to put his elbow in the picture,
right.
in the videos.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, he wants absolutely no part of being in any video whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And one time I tried to, and he's like, "That's my elbow. I can see it."
Oh my god!
And that's a true story.
Well, like you said, you said 14, and it does. I was 14 once too.
Well, he's my very mature, introverted child who, he's very shy. So, very good kid, very smart in school. And then we've got my little one, who is a little quirkier. And, had I known him, 10 years ago when I named him, I probably would have named him Dennis the Menace. Uh-huh. He is absolutely adorable, loves to help, loves to be in there, gives me actually great ideas for the videos. He's like, "Hey, Mom, you should say it this way instead of that way." And it really does. Comes across funnier. And, he's very willing to come to, events that Jameson gets invited to, or, he helped me with the book a little bit, like, "You should draw this picture, or you should have Louis draw this picture instead." Mm-hmm. And, he's very helpful, and he's very insightful, and he knows what's funny, because he's a funny kid. He's very funny for his age. And, so they both, while they're a little bit shy and leery of, being in the spotlight, I don't necessarily try to put them in the spotlight at all, because I want them to be kids. But they're very inspiring to me, and part of what I do is so that they can see that you just don't have to have a job when you get older. You can do other things. You can, it's kindness and helping other people that make you a great person. And so I guess, I'm trying to also send a message to them through, my behavior and what we're doing with this. Mm-hmm.
Good job. And it sounds like they make a pretty good support team for you.
They are. I can always bounce ideas. And I'll tell you what, that, as everybody with teenagers knows, that if you can get your teenager to laugh at something that you've done, not laugh at you, but laugh with you about something, as a parent, it makes your day. And when my older son, read the book, and he read a certain part, and he started to not giggle because he's a boy, but, he kind of chuckled. I was happy with that. That made me extremely happy that, it did come across as funny to even a 14-year-old.
Yeah. Not only a 14-year-old, but a 14-year-old that's your own son.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that makes it extra special. So, just so you know, we've got about 5 minutes left. What's the best feedback you've gotten from all this?
There's been a few things. I mean, even on my worst day, and everybody has bad days, I can read something, or somebody would send me a message that would be very emotional. And it was either how they felt about what happened, how they felt about how I handled it, or the mission or the journey that we've been on in trying to help others, that kind of lifts my spirits if I'm having a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
And I got this. I don't want to get emotional, but
You can.
I got this email one time from this woman. Sorry.
Just take your time. It's okay.
And she told me how she was abused as a child. And when she heard Jameson's story, she could relate as an abused person.
Mm-hmm.
And that how I turned around and helped him and tried to, I never want to make light of what happened to him, but tried to make people happy. And that it's not what you went through that defines you, it's how you handle it and the outcome that can define you and that can make things better for you. And she wrote me this very long email about all of this and how I made her feel through Jameson's journey and the videos and the things that we do with our fundraising and our trying to help abused animals. That, I don't want to use the word inspired her, but made her realize that, not everything is bad and you don't have to be defined by what happened to you. And it was such an emotional letter that she sent me, or email that she sent me, that it really touched me that one person can make a difference in someone else's life. And I think that, I've seen that sporadically through the years on my job where I've helped somebody or I've made a difference for somebody. But the fact that, not only myself, but this core group of people that are constantly supportive of us and that constantly are willing to volunteer their time to help with the things that we have to do, that we can make a difference in other people's lives and other animals' lives. And I think that is one of the greatest things that has come out of this is that, we've helped people and we've helped animals, and that was all we ever wanted to do, when we decided that this is what we could do. And, people will say, I'll turn around and I'll just tell people, like, hey, we were given lemons, so we made the lemonade. And I try to, brush it off and be glib about it. But I never want anyone to think that I'm okay with what happened to Jameson. It's just that I've tried to take him and make him be an ambassador for other abused animals and make it something that is in the public eye and that it is talked about and that people know it's unacceptable and that people aren't going to stand for it. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media and the fact that you can just pass things on in such a very fast way nowadays that, so many people are so outspoken about it.
Absolutely. And I'm just guessing. I mean, I'm just completely guessing. But that fellow who got put away for the year, I'm thinking he can't be having a very easy time of it in there. I got a feeling there's probably more than just one person on the inside that loves animals and will just think of what he did as one of the most despicable and dastardly low-down crimes available to humankind. So, I mean, I'm just guessing at that. Maybe they have to have him under special lock and key to prevent other people from damaging him. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
I don't know about that. I don't think that they did. But you have to remember too that yes, there are people that don't put up with child abusers or other ways that you can hurt children or animal abusers. But there are other like-minded individuals in there that don't think that animals have feelings. So I know that I don't know if he's out yet. I know that with Good Times, he is out right about now. Okay. So I don't know if he already is or if he's getting out, but his year is almost up.
What was he like? I mean, you said he admitted to it. Did he have an attitude like it was no big thing, or he was
blasé about it?
He He was just blasé about it, like it was no big deal. I did that, so what? Or
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far to say, yeah, so what? It was kind of, he told us what he did, and he was unemotional about it. And I don't think that he actually thought he did anything wrong because it was the dog that belonged in his house.
right,
It was supposedly his girlfriend's dog, but
Mm.
I mean, he lived in the house with the dog anyway. And I don't know. Maybe he just. I really don't know. I don't, because I don't understand that mindset. I don't understand how you can hurt a defenseless thing, especially. I mean,
Yeah.
Jameson really is cute, and when he looks at me, I think about sometimes what happened to him, and I'm like, that dog was looking up at him, and he did it anyway.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, so there's a question here. Would you rescue again? I already know the answer to that, but I'll ask you to answer it anyway.
Oh, I have repeatedly, there's been a few dogs that have come across our path that, have ended up in other homes, but, I would have gladly taken them in, and between my family, friends, and the people who watch my dogs during the day, I get the resounding, no, Alison, you've got enough on your plate. No, absolutely not. You can find them another home. But I mean, if there was a situation where an animal really did need to come to a good home and there was no other option, of course I would take another animal.
I already knew the answer to that.
Yeah.
So let's see. You mentioned earlier, you said that some people might think, and this isn't an exact quote, but it was something like, some people might think that a stronger sentence wasn't really necessary because it's only a dog, that kind of thing. But see, in my mind, it's like that's like just craziness, because a dog is another life form. It's a sentient being. It has feelings, thoughts, emotions. For people to have the mindset of, so what, it's only a dog, that's just like wrong thinking to me. And something education-wise, as they were growing up, just didn't click in. They were never given the opportunity to understand that animals are important. What else was I going to say about that? Yes. In relation to the sentencing, no surprise, I'm one of the people that feels like a stronger message needed to be sent. Not just to him specifically, but to the public in general. This is not acceptable. This is not okay. And for murder or attempted murder, whatever form that sentient being has, it's still not okay. So I definitely fall into the category of a stronger sentencing would have been a good idea. I was going to ask you this. I'm not sure if I did. Why do you think there wasn't I mean, I've seen this over and over again over the years in similar situations where stronger sentencing is not given out, even when there's like national public outrage. Still, there isn't stronger sentencing in cases of animal murder, even. And attempted murder. What is your opinion on why the heck that is?
I honestly, I don't know. I think that, there are different cultures who view different animals and other animals as property, one. And for whatever reason, that's the way they grew up. That's a cultural thing. But I think that in today's day and age, that people who have a depraved indifference to life in general and commit these barbaric, unnecessary, cruel acts of violence against animals and children really, really need to be punished harsher. There's no reason for it. And I think, there's a correlation between domestic violence and animal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that have ever heard of Juno's Place, that's their mission to I guess, I don't want to say agenda, but that is what they try to pursue and what they fight for is to make that connection between domestic abuse and animal abuse. And I think that judges or society or lawmakers, the legislature, need to take a strong look at, there's a guy who has an addiction and he breaks into a house and he steals somebody's stuff. Yes, that's absolutely wrong. Yes, that creates havoc for the people, but for the homeowners. But when you have somebody that has this just indifference to life in general, that is a character thing, and that is something that needs to be punished. That is what jails are for. Jails are not, they're supposed to be a rehabilitation place, and it's, I don't know, they need to be punished harsher, because there's something just innately wrong with them that they can do that to another life form. Whether it be an animal, I don't care if it's a guinea pig. It's something that breathes, and it's something that has feelings and nerves and everything else. And the fact that you just don't care about that, what does that say about you as a person?
Exactly. Well said.
Sorry, you're going to get on my soapbox.
Sometimes that's why they made soapboxes. These things actually need to be said, and this is a subject that, for me personally, does press buttons. And so I appreciate your willingness to answer that question and to bring some emotion into it. Thank you, Alison. And so, just in wrapping up, in closing today, I do want to thank you again for being here. I also want to thank Louis for coming on. And is there anything, and take as long as you would like, is there anything you would like to share, to say, to, and of course I'm thanking Jameson as well. Thank you, Jameson, for being here today.
Thank you for having us. My mom really didn't give me a chance to say too much. But, well, I'm glad I was here anyway, so thank you.
You're very welcome, and that was my fault. I was so caught up in the other questions. I just, until the very end here, I didn't think to say, Jameson, what's up? So I apologize, Jameson. Perhaps sometime in the future we can have an interview with just Jameson. Back to Alison. Alison, is there anything you would like to share? Something that came up for you, whether you feel it's absolutely related or slightly related or whatever, anything at all?
No, other than the fact that I think that Jameson's journey and it has become my journey as well, and I really at this point can't imagine how things would be for me had this not happened. Well, let me reword that. I guess I feel blessed, like I said earlier, that, I've had the opportunity to embark on this journey with my dog, with my family, and the outpouring of support and generosity and kindness that I have seen, there really is a generosity of the human spirit, and I didn't always see that for a long time at work. And through this, my eyes have been opened to, a whole other world of helping and volunteering and trying to make a difference. And it's extremely satisfying as a person to, be a part of that. And I can't thank, the animal hospitals enough, or Pet Chance enough, or my friends that volunteer their time and, help me put on the fundraisers and go with me to these events, and purely just to support us and to be a part of it. And I've met so many wonderful, wonderful people who have so much to give, and they really try, and they devote their lives to helping other animals and, making a better place for animals and for the humans involved. Through, there's just so many different organizations, and they all have their own mission. And, if people could find a couple hours a day or, on a weekend that they can go and volunteer at their local shelter or a local organization, there's so many of us that need help. Not me, I'm not saying me, but there's so many that rely just solely on volunteers to help make them successful, and to, even if it's just to take some dogs out for a walk. there's always something that people can do to help.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
Is that it? Did I go off on a tangent?
You know, everything you said was powerful and strong, and it has meaning. So I wouldn't call it what people usually think of as a tangent. It was just
Sometimes I get lost and I forgot your question and I just go off.
No, it worked. You were right there. It's like you were just riding that wave. And Alison Metcalfe, police detective, Ludlow, Massachusetts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
wait, can you interject one more thing?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. There's a part of me too, like when you had asked me why we wrote the book and stuff.
Yeah.
There's a part of me also that with all the current events and so many people, it appears through the media that so many people don't like the police or don't like authority, and there's all these movements and these protests and everything. That I guess being in the public and trying to do what we're doing as far as the animals, there's also a part of me that wants people to see that even though this is one small instance of, us being caring for an animal, in doing this investigation, that 99.9 of us are humans and we're not infallible, and that just because we do a job and maybe, some things happen that people don't like, it doesn't mean the whole core group of us are these evil monsters. The 99.9% of us are true, caring individuals, and we get into this job to help society, to help individuals, to do what we can to be, good members of society and to keep law and order. And, a part of me feels bad when people say they don't like the police, because we are there for everybody, and I'm trying to show people also that the police are good, the police do care, and, I guess this brings a lighter, not a lighter, but a brighter side to police work, because it became public. But this is what police officers do every day, and it's, this is how police officers really are, and we have families, and we care, and we're good people. And a part of me also hopes that message is sent, as well as, teaching children that animal abuse is wrong. So there's many different reasons why I or we do what we do, and that's also one of them.
Well, thank you. I really do thank you and appreciate your sharing that. That's an important message. It really is. And the message is police are people too. Just like not all this race or this religion or that religion are good guys or bad guys. It's a mix. Police are people too. People that have gotten into the role of law enforcement for different reasons. And you are definitely one of the good guys. And just in speaking with Lewis, I know he's one of the good guys. So please keep up the good work. Thank you for being there. Absolutely. It's good for me to meet good people like you. Alison Metcalfe, thank you.
And it controls what we remember. 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 And it controls what we remember.
Thank you for listening to The World According to Pleiades on KFUG Radio in Crescent City, California. If you have any topics you'd like covered, or you feel you have the potential to make a good interviewee, please send your suggestions and or information to KFUG Radio, 270 I Street, Crescent City, California, 95531. Attention, Pleiades. Or email me at radiointerview@moonstar-enterprises.com. That's radio interview at moonstar-enterprises.com. My name is Pleiades Moonstar, and I love you.